All right, welcome back. So, yes, we're keeping our focus on that unfortunate incident about those when the governor of Katsina State said that, from the record, 330 schoolboys from the government secondary school. But I've got two gentlemen, as you may have seen in that welcoming slide here, to weigh in on the subject matter. Mohammed Ibrahim is a retired staff officer from DSS, and then you also have Sheyi Adita, who's a former operative of the same DSS. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, this scenario left a lot of people. Of course, there'll be different perspectives. Many would have said, how could this have happened? Didn't we see it coming, given all the resources we have? Why? So many questions, much more than the answers out there. But Trey, you've been looking into this kind of matter. You've also kept tabs. So from your perspective, what do you see playing out here?
Well, it is something that is expected. And considering the way security is, or let me say the spread of insecurity in the northern part of Nigeria, is a disaster that is waiting to happen. With the way things are presently, and that's the reason why you see governors closing schools, because one, we are having too much of insecurity in our hands, and our ability to be able to, address this issue is been weakened every day, because as insecurity is growing, the manpower that we have to address this is not the development of such manpower is not commensurate with the level of challenges that we're having. It's important that we first of all situate the cause of this particular incident. There was an attack by bandits in the community, and some of the bandits were killed. They came back for a retaliatory attack that night, and they were repelled, because I heard somewhere where some people were saying that they were taken during broad daylight. No, they were actually repelled. It was in the process of they exiting the Kankara community. That was when they went into the school and they marched those children out. And contrary to what Shekau is trying to portray yesterday, this is not a Boko Haram-led operation. It was entirely bandit, but there's this handshake between bandits and Boko Haram of recent that we've seen, where they carry out
recent?
Very recent, where they carry out kidnapping and they try to trade off their captives to Boko Haram. We've seen that happening in Maduguri, Yobe, on several occasions, when after kidnapping people for ransom, and it's whether there are some high-profile people there, they transfer them to Boko Haram, and that's part of some of the agreements they have with this. And if you look at the American that was kidnapped, America had to rescue him because they discovered that there was a trade-off about to happen. So they knew
between bandits and Boko Haram.
Yeah, and if they should allow that, the moment the captive gets into the hand of ISWAP or Boko Haram, then it becomes very difficult for them to rescue.
Can we say for sure that these bandits, as it were, are not elements of Boko Haram?
Yeah, you see, these are soldiers of fortune. They've been in this business for long. If you look at most of the commanders fighting for both Jazz, Shekaram, Jazz faction, and the ISWAP, they are largely soldiers of fortune. They were recruited because of their background, and they are given position of commanders. Some of them fell apart. Some of them decided to go on their own. We've seen lots of infighting within Boko Haram, some commanders falling out, and they try to create their own camp or to move into banditry. So this particular situation, because from what we gathered, they were actually negotiating with government. At the point, they were talking directly with the families of the kids, and at the same time, they were actually talking to Shekau faction and also ISWAP. So apparently, one particular group succeeded in outbidding the other in the process of this, and that's why you saw Shekau came out yesterday with that audio to say that our brothers are the one behind it. So if you read in between, like it's associated with the people that did it, because there have been agreement between, and that's what makes this situation a very precarious one right now. If you look at what happened in 2014 February, 59 students of Buniyadi government secondary schools were killed, and you know, with Shekau, you can't predict what can happen with captives once it is now in his custody. So what the implication of this is that the negotiation is no longer going to be with the identified bandit leaders. There is one guy, I remember his name now, that is believed to be leading the bandits. It's no longer negotiation with him now. It's now going to be negotiation with Shekau now. And we know what happened with the Dapchi girls negotiation, the Shupot girls negotiation. It's not going to be a tea party for Nigeria.
So many follow-ups to do on that one, but let me bring in Mr. Barham on this one. Look, what's your assessment of what you've seen?
Thank you very much. The whole story is nothing but inefficiency of the setup of the insecurity we have in this country. The kidnapped boys from Katsina may not likely be totally recovered.
They may not
likely be totally be saved.
Why did you say so?
From the story, the military noticed they were present when these boys are being moved. And to attack, that's when they jeopardized saving some of these children. Because in the process, the fire exchange may be affected. And these bandits, they will purposely and intentionally use them to protect themselves too in the course. So that's why there are going to be problems. So what we need to is a serious intelligence gathering. And that is where we need to use the community. Because I was surprised that the bandit came, they had experience of before returning to retaliate. That means that community, they are in the knowing. They are in the knowing. And where did they take? The road they took, the people that have seen them, they must have been in connection with some of these people. Because, you see, the bandits also, they have their own intelligence networks. Before going to do certain, carry out certain operation, they will have their own Reiki operation to know where there are problems. Because they know Nigeria security agencies are everywhere.
But if I could just jump in, pardon me, I hope I don't interrupt your train of thought. When you say that community are in the knowing, you know, it may not come across perhaps the way you want to put it, because if you look at the scenario, the environment, there have been several times where some persons tried to inform security operatives of what was going on, and they were slaughtered. So do the people have the confidence to actually call on security agencies? And when they do call them, have they been responding? So to what extent can you say they are in the knowing, and then this could have happened?
Our communication gap, the communication gap is what we need to improve upon. The communication gap we need to improve upon. And again, this is where we are clamoring for state policy. If we have the development of community policy, they will be in charge of these problems.
So does this suggest that this is a failure of perhaps your former outfit, State's Security Service?
No.
Intelligence failure?
No, that's not. It's not intelligence. You see, intelligence is something that when it is given to the needies, there are protocols of dispensing intelligence. Intelligence may be given to some people that they will not use it at the right time, or use it to the wrong place.
But in this particular case, can we say, what's your assessment? Do you think that there was intelligence about this matter? Because I appear to have got many people
there should be intelligence about, because we have people working everywhere in every local government. They know what is going on. The communication, intelligence commission must have been going on. And what brings most about this thing is that the security personnel are overstressed. If you look at it, you need to improve upon by making more recruitment, so that
across board,
across so that be able to cover what needs to be covered. That is exactly what is happening. Most of our security apparatus are very, very inadequate. Then the assisting of community police to assist the security agencies, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, gentlemen, let me bring my colleague Ayo. He's got some questions for you as well. Ayo, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me begin from where you stopped, Chamberlain, with Mr. Ibrahim. First, let's begin with the fact of the information that you talked about, giving, gathering intelligence information and giving it to people. When you say that the communities are aware and there was no way they could have done anything, clearly what you're saying is that there is intelligence information that there is some level of collaboration between the bandits in some cases and the communities, and in some other cases, some people have said that the Boko Haram also have a kind of leash on certain communities, for which reason they have carried out reprisal attacks for them giving information to security operatives. For how long have we known this? And which security agency of government should have done something about it that, in your opinion, wasn't able to do anything about it?
Ayo, there's an understanding amongst both of them, so Shay wants to respond to it.
Okay, so it's important for us to understand the fact that this is not a new situation or development in the area. Sometime last year, Amnesty was given to some of these bandits. And then because the activities of these bandits are well known within the area, we should not forget the fact that the Kankara community is a border town. So it borders Zamfara. And Zamfara is the haven where most of all these bandits. And the fact that the Zamfara government is operating on an agreement, from some sort of agreement with the bandits in terms of amnesty, while after the fallout of the initial amnesty program in Katsina State, the Katsina government now said is no longer doing amnesty. So they have a kind of a safe haven in Zamfara to operate. Now the leader of this group is one person identified to be someone called Daudawa. Is from Daudawa from Daudawa village in the Faskari local government in Katsina. And this is a local. Is believed to be supported by one Menuri and another guy. I will also remember his name. So these guys are local people that are notorious, have been declared wanted in Katsina, and the activities has been so broad around that area. So if you look at the security structure on ground, the expanse of land that the security structure on ground are expected to cover, and the stretch of the forest belts right from Niger State, Zamfara, all the way into Niger Republic is so massive, and the vegetative cover is so broad that even area surveillance is a lot difficult. And that's the reason why, the moment they enter into this forest belt, it's always very difficult. And we've seen that the military, have lost so many soldiers, in the process of going after these people inside the forest. So it always requires, well-planned security operations at times to neutralize some of their operation. So are the security agencies aware that these guys are operating? Yes. Are they doing something? Yes. What they are doing, is it enough to counter the insecurity around that area? The answer is no, because they don't have enough facility on ground, because they are already stretched out.
Just one moment,
virtually no state in Nigeria.
If you can hear me, Mr. Adesayo, just one moment. What you are saying here is sounding a little like we're helpless. And the question that I asked the other time is about the fact that we have this information, and clearly from some of the information that you're giving us right now, we have the information. As a matter of fact, you have mentioned specific names. So we know these people. Now, whose responsibility is it to go after these people? Most of the time when we're talking about security, our security challenges, we're talking about the army, we're talking about the police. But you know as well as I do that these are not the only two agencies of government in charge of security. There is also the belief out there that the DSS, which agency is also sometimes armed, could have operationalized some of the intelligence that they gather, and we don't hear much of that. We only hear about the police, we only hear about the army. And just as you are saying right now, everybody believes that they are overstretched. So from what you are saying, given all the information that is available to us, the forest belt and all those things, shouldn't some strategic intervention have helped us to intervene to make sure this doesn't happen in the first place?
Okay, so thank you very much. The names you've had is the same way we've had names of Shekau. We've had several names. And we know the leader of this Boko Haram faction is this, and they were yet to be able to nab these guys. That speaks volume as to how coordinated the enemy that the country is fighting are. And we should forget that this is an asymmetric warfare. It's not a conventional warfare where you have a standing army and you are going after a standing army. And in asymmetric warfare, usually the enemy has advantage of initiative when attacking, and because you are left with the option of most times to protect. In terms of issue of intelligence, okay, you said that we heard so much about the military, about the police, and then you don't hear much about the DSS. The truth is that you are not expected to hear about them. Their duty, their responsibility is to gather intelligence. Their intelligence is for end users. They have their specific end user depending on the nature of the intelligence at hand, and the people that are responsible for the direct counter insurgency as we have now are the military and the police. So except the military comes out and the police comes out to say, okay, from the DSS, they are not getting enough. And we shouldn't forget the fact that in the military, there is the Defense Intelligence Service. They are the intelligence component of the military. And also each of the military arm, like the Nigerian Army has the Nigerian Army Intelligence Corps, NAIC. They have the Nigerian Air Intelligence Corps, and then the Naval Intelligence are there. All these components are expected to take responsibility of the intelligence that is needed for their military operations. So how much have they been able also to gather or to be able to provide? We can only get to know our level of deficiency if the leadership of the military and the police are able to come out to say, okay, we are not getting enough intelligence from the DSS or from the intelligence components of the Nigerian military, so to speak. So, but we need to understand this. It is largely, as I've said even here, about 2 weeks ago on Sunrise, that you see, we need to move away from our fixation with quick wins. We've always, and it's common with politicians. We want quick wins so that people can easily, praising us to say, oh, you've done this, you've done that. But we really need to sit down and have a better understanding of what we have at hand. This is a war we cannot win overnight. We need a strategic plan that will address both short-term and long-term.
Mr. Vitayo, yeah. On that same matter, and thank you for bringing it up because I was going to go there next, which is the fact that we are want to rush for the quick wins. Again, let me reiterate what we all know. The fact that we have at least 9 security agencies that are supposed to deal with several different things. Proliferation of arms wouldn't be an issue in Nigeria if we had an effective or actioned intelligence to the customs. Immigration, we wouldn't have the kind of situation where we had on our hands, where the governor of Kano State was telling us that a good number of the Almajiris in the state were from outside of Nigeria. So if that agency of government was doing their thing. So talking about not just looking for quick wins, but mitigating, ensuring that these security vulnerabilities that we have allowed for so long do not continue. How do we strengthen? What are the areas of life we need to pay attention to ensure that we don't go there? Because This is what we are dealing with today. Who knows what we're going to deal with tomorrow?
The challenge here, okay, the challenge is largely our inability to address the root causes. There is huge poverty in Nigeria, and that is largely concentrated in the north. There is porous border. Our border is very, very porous. We don't have, some natural landmark that could help us to be able to navigate around our borders to protect it. It's just large expanse of land. Even if you put the whole customs personnel along the fringes of the Nigerian northern border, they will not be able to protect it. That means that we need much more. We have high illiteracy rates in the northern part of Nigeria, and then there is corruption in government. And you see, if you put all those things together, there's no country that is going to have, or that is having what I've put together here, that would not experience what we're experiencing now. It's not about the amount of intelligence. You can have the intelligence and put the intelligence there, but when the reality on ground cannot even enable you to be able to put the mitigating, actions in place. Some actions will require even long-term planning and investment for you to be able to tackle them.
Mr. Prime, when you say that, the military saw the boys, how they were living, but they couldn't do anything because they didn't want any casualty. How were they moved? There were reports that they walked the boys. So was it that the military couldn't follow through intelligently? Is it that they couldn't strategize?
That's surprising. In actual fact.
No, but from your account, how were the boys moved? Did they actually walk them to the bushes?
They must have used vehicles to transport them, and when they get to where they are, they move them on the foot. They line them up. They must have done that, because that is the usual way this thing usually happens.
But if you're going to move, according to the governor, 333 boys through vehicles, the military were helpless all through the time?
That is surprising, that where those vehicles came from, the route they took to that place to get those 333 from. That's why I'm trying to tell you that some community must have been in the knowledge of what was going on. And as my colleague has rightly said, if everybody played their role, this wouldn't have happened.
Does that suggest you're blaming the community on this one?
Community are in the knowing. Community cannot do without seeing all these.
But the military, you said the military knew as well. So doesn't that invalidate what the community knew, since the military was there and they saw what was happening?
When this action was happening, the reports we had, the military saw them when they are taking them. And with the situation, the military are incapacitated.
Wow.
The information they needed couldn't get to them at the right time. And when such populations are being moved, and with this, it's very difficult to rescue them.
You wanted to say that?
Okay, Chamberlain, we actually need to be realistic here, because there are some things that you can't help. From the information available, they got to the school, it was at night, and they marched these children, these schoolboys, and because they were walking on the road, it gave the security agencies ample time to call for reinforcement, enforce government, and here surveillance was deployed, and that was how they were able to track them. But remember that they walked them through the night, and then here surveillance is not something that is all that easy, because you need to scan through vast area of land at night. But they were able to track them. But mind you, there is no how. I don't see any government that will want to take such collateral damage, that you deploy here power to deploy assaults on kidnappers that are having the hostages with them.
Up till when they were, as you said, negotiating with different factions of Boko Haram?
There's nothing you can do. This is reality. If you see, even when you see a state situation and there is a standoff, You just have to negotiate your way. Except if it's somewhere that you have advantage of environment. In this case, there's no advantage of environment. They were in the forest. They are able to locate that this is where these people are. They have the kids with them, but they cannot strike. There is no, we're dealing with people that if you move closer, what if they start killing the boys?
Well,
what will government do?
It's going to be difficult for Nigerians to accept that there's nothing anybody can do.
Buniyadi case is a case in mind.
Okay.
But when they slaughtered 59 boys,
okay, well, we'll
those guys never had the opportunity.
We'll be back to shed more light to try to understand what actually happened and what can be done other than nothing can be done about this thing. Because how do you accept that? Okay, that's what we'll come back in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Well, gentlemen, in trying to understand these things, we're equally looking at how do we ensure this kind of scenario doesn't happen again, because it's not the first or second. But when you made reference to the bandits leader, the Daudawa Awalu person, well, we also understand that there's word that, yes, he's from Faskari local government, as you said, but some say that he lives in Zamfara.
Yeah.
So does that then mean that the understanding that Zamfara government had with those the amnesty with some of those people, can we say is really working if he's still carrying out this kind of activity?
Well, this shows that it's not the best option, and it also shows that is not working. He's known to be living in a village called Zubulu, or so, and that is where 17 of those that escaped yesterday, that were recovered yesterday, also ran away from. And the truth here is that we are not actually adopting the right approach to this. We should not be learning from our mistakes all the time. We should also try to avoid actions that could lead to mistakes that will be so costly like this. There should be a national or coordinated action plan that will define how states should respond. Our response should be a collective one. Zamfara should not be adopting a process that is different from that of Katsina, and the Katsina adopting one that is different from that of Sokoto, because these states are sharing boundaries. So it means that whatever is happening to this state will definitely affect this. And that's why you see that Zamfara governor decided to close schools that are the bordering communities, to all these states, because they feel that
the shared borders
at Zamfara and other states. So those are the challenges that we're having. And earlier on, when you're talking about why are we helpless, we should not forget what happened in 2011 when European engineers were kidnapped and they were taken to a community in Sokoto, and there was an attempt to, after months of intelligence assessments and conversation between Nigerian government and the foreign governments, that those people were they are citizens of those countries, and eventually the British decided to take the bull by the horn by sending the boat squad. Immediately, it was a coordinated offensive that was launched, but it turned out bad, because those people had a standing order that the moment you see any offensive being launched at you, execute the victims or the hostages immediately, and that was what happened. They killed them. It was a bad outcome at the end of the day. It's important that we understand, because I saw the way Nigerians were applauding the rescue of the American and saying that, oh, Nigerian government. The truth is that we're talking about one person. It is easier for you to launch such an offensive if you are dealing with one person. Donald Trump will not launch such an offensive in this situation. Not in Chibok girls' situation, not in Dapchi, not in this Kankara boys' situation, because the collateral damage will be monumental. And I'm not sure any government will want to carry such, political and moral burden of launching an offensive and several of young boys are killed in the process. So the best approach is for us to study the situation carefully, and we are currently more or less like, we are the mercy of.
But let me bring in Mr. Ibrahim. When you hear that the leader of this gang lives, yes, he's from Katsina, but lives in Zamfara, and then there's an amnesty that's supposed to have been given. They're supposed to have an understanding with them, and this is still happening. So when governments grant amnesty to certain persons, what role does, in this case, your former outfits, the DSS, play? Do they advise them what to do? How should they proceed? Because if you say you have an understanding, and this leader happens to be one of those quote-unquote beneficiaries, assuming he's one of them, so isn't that a failure still of at least intelligence at some point?
I will say something now. You see, giving amnesty to those insurgency when the insurgency are still active, I don't think it's a proper idea. But they are still active. And this one that came out said that, we surrender. We won't do it again. And government embrace them and teach them and try to radicalize them.
While you were in service, were you aware that the agency advised the security authorities or government, this is not a good idea? Did that ever happen? The process of passing intelligence is very, very discreet. At your level, you do your own, but at your upper level, they do add or subtract. Okay, but given your decades of experience.
I'm not giving my own experience.
No, what I'm saying is, given your wealth of knowledge and experience in service, while you were in service, do you think that the agency may have advised them, look, if they're still active, this may not be good?
Of course, I believe such will happen, because we have seen what is happening now. How can you give amnesty to somebody that said when they are still inactive? And by giving them amnesty, they will come back. Yes, they will embrace whatever you give them, whatever you promise them. But you can't stop them from communicating with their people that are still in the dungeon, in the bush.
So there could be double agents in this case?
That's exactly what is happening. Because I have the opportunity to be in position of counter-terrorism. As far as Lagos State is concerned. You don't allow those BH to reside in Lagos. We don't. The moment they are, because we have our own networks. The moment they are in Lagos, they were picked up and taken away. So that we have safety homes. Now, the issue of giving them amnesty, to me, it's unaccessible.
Now, about this ransom now, because remember that the governor did say that they were in touch with the bandits. And now, if they have given Shekau's comments, where does that leave the government now? Are they still going to be negotiating with the bandits, or should they now? What is government? What are the chances? What are the options?
You see, these people have been fighting the Nigerian government for several years now. So, and they've carried this out several times. So they already understand the government playbook. We've had the Chibok girls. They know how government responded. We've had the Dapchi girls. They know how government responded. And several others, like they kidnapped some police officers and the rest of recent as well. So they understand the way we respond. So, and this is, lots, psychological warfare.
Does that suggest that they know we will negotiate, we'll pay them ransom,
oh, definitely,
we'll make money?
Definitely. You are dealing with smart guys. You're dealing with smart guys here. And you see, it's like, someone kidnap your sister. The person knows that definitely you want your sister back, you come and talk. You want to, in fact, you first of all keep quiet. They'll be expecting that they know that you will start praying that they should contact you. So at least you hear your sister's voice for proof of life, to be assured that, okay, she's alive. So at that time, they have taken initiative. They're having the advantage. The ball is no longer in your court. So you are now at their mercy. And that's what Shekau is trying to do now, all those people are doing now, they want to sustain the initiative. They want to be, to be at the advantage right now. So right now, government has no other option than to, because the more politically, it's not looking good for the government, and then also morally, they have to consider several actions that they will take. And then back to the question you asked about the issue of intelligence. You see, intelligent tradecraft is a very complex, very complex craft. It's not something that you can say 1 + 1 = 2. The fact that if intelligence agency says that, okay, go ahead with this, might not with intention because they are afraid. At times, you could decide to negotiate with somebody, bring the person in, turn the person might go back there and then work for you. The person might as well, because those people too are working using intelligence tradecraft too, they can decide to turn the person again. You understand what I'm saying now? Become a double agent. So you see, intelligence business is a complex business, and when they try to advise, they put all the options on the table and say, if you take this option, this is the likely outcome. If you take this option, this is likely outcome. You might decide to take this option, it will give you 1, 2, 3 and an advantage. If you take this option, it might look bad, but on the long run, it might help you. It's left for the political actor or the person that will take the decision to say, okay, which is the direction that we're taking at a particular point in time.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, from what Syria said, you see, look at the issue at hand. We need to, the government need to brazen up the security apparatus. That's me to protect, because these people, like my colleague already said, the security issues, they are, when you see them doing this kind of things, they are running off finance, and what all they are doing is they need finance, and that's why you see them going into kidnappings, go into robberies. No, robbery where they cannot kidnap, they go into robbery. So they need finance, and that is exactly what is going on now. Because, as he said, the discussion will take place, and we have to find a way to dance to their tunes. Now, how do we do it? Because when they have given what they wanted, they will come again somewhere else. And that is when we have to find a way of blocking it completely.
Okay, let me bring in Ayo again. Ayo, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain. Mr. Ibrahim, this one is for you specifically. And it borders on something that you said the other time about the likelihood of us not being able to fully bring these boys back home. And that's definitely very, very troubling. And you have also spoken to the fact that, giving amnesty, for the states to be giving amnesty to known bandits or criminals isn't the strategy that should work. So I want to ask you, at the level of the state governors, what kind of information is available to them? Because I believe that if they knew the consequences of not dialoguing with the criminals or with the kidnappers, as in the case of Katsina State, or giving amnesty to bandits or some of these elements, as in the case that you have mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure that they would have acted differently if they knew that the consequences would be dire in the long run. So what kind of information is available to the governors which sometimes informs the decisions that they have to take?
You see, the government is doing all they could, but with the situation on ground, with these boys, I don't think it's going to be easy to bring them back in such a way that we expected. You see, you look at what I've said earlier, the population of the security agents and our operation techniques. that we need to double up our operation techniques in such a way that more intelligence and advice, and there's no way that government will not carry out this negotiation. In the case of negotiations, the government should not do everything those insurgents want, because by doing it, they planning again. This thing happened in Katsina State. The next time you feel that it's happening somewhere in another state, because the attention, when you know that the government, our attention is now in Katsina and Zamfara State. Then when we are not paying attention, that's why I say all the other states in the north, not only in the north, in the southern part, they should wake up to brace up the security apparatus of their state, so that this will not happen again.
But what do we then do? Because I mean, some of your earlier information indicated that the leader, he's not a Fulani herdsman, but he works with them. Yeah. What information do you have on that?
Okay, just that's what part of what we're able to, gather as to the background of Daudawa, Awolum Daudawa, that is from Katsina, and not everybody from Northeast are Fulani. There are Hausas and some other minority tribes that are also there. But likely he has been working with this the Fulani bandits for a long time. Also, there's Dankarami and Menore. Those are the three major names.
So is Dankarami the one demanding that they release their gang members who were abducted in different cells?
Yes, 6. I think he demanded for six particular individuals that should be released. So that was at the time that they were having that negotiation before the story changed, and we had Shekau now announcing that is the one calling the shots. So which has changed the whole scenario.
But any idea where the boys are now?
Well, if they've not been moved overnight, because time is running out for the boys in terms of being able to secure them or being able to corner these guys to a particular location. So I think the last information that we had was they are somewhere in one Motu primary school in one village. I think I forgot to
primary school. So it's likely that I think Nigeria Security Agencies.
It's around that Zamfara access.
Surrounding that place.
But let's be honest and be truthful here. That forest belt extends all the way into Niger Republic. It's possible for one to move in within that forest belt all the way to Niger Republic, difficult for him or her to be detected through air surveillance. It's a large space. So even for Nigerian security forces to be able to still manage, to keep them there, it shows that so much effort, is being put in place. But the truth here is that how much of advantage do they have? They have limited advantage in terms of being able to, hold these guys and they've been able to get. But I am hoping, I'm not losing hope that something could happen. Good news could be broken any moment from now. But honestly, how we got here, we shouldn't forget that it wasn't our bed of roses, even for governors who decide to adopt, having a pact with the bandit. At that time, villagers were being killed.
Who knows if they will review that now in the light of what has happened. But we have to keep hope alive as much as we can, because the parents...
Something favorably will happen.
That's a very good place to let it go then. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. Mohammed Ibrahim is a former principal staff officer of State Service, and then you also have Sheyi Adetayo, who himself also former operative of the State Service. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you.
We will be back in a moment. Do stay with us.